Hi everyone, it is January 14th, 2023. I am out in the Mark Twain National Forest doing some exploring this weekend. Just kind of checking things out, looking for campsites, cool stuff like that. I thought I would finally take a few minutes to try to do a walk around video of our 2003 Toyota Tacoma. I found a few of these online, so I was kind of hesitant to do one because I don't know that our truck is all that unique. But at the same time, I thought it would be fun to kind of show you how you can build out a small truck for a decent sized family. We are a family of 5 and we absolutely use this thing, all 5 of us, to go camping, big road trips. We've done Mojave Road, we've done White Rim, several others, big road trips up to Dinosaur National Monument. We've gone out to Shenandoah, etc., etc. So with some smart decisions and some planning, thinking ahead, you can do it. And of course, these trucks are legendarily capable, so they get us everywhere we want to go and then some, and get us safely back. So I would highly encourage you, if you have one of these and you're thinking about it, feel free to steal any ideas we have, ask any questions, whatever. But yeah, I'll get to just kind of a broad overview of our truck. This won't be a real in-depth guide. Maybe something like that can come later if there's enough interest, but just a broad overview of what we've done with this guy to make it work for our family and the things that we like to do. We'll just kind of start at the front. We'll walk our way through everything, and I'll do my best to describe stuff to you. I'm going to be real honest. I am not a car guy. I'm not. That's why I went with a Toyota. If I had to work on this thing right now to get it to start, there's about a 78% chance I could not do it. There's a few things I know, a whole lot I don't. So you may have more technical questions than I can answer. I've basically just tried to buy good quality stuff and put it on here in a smart way that will make it reliable, safe, and highly effective, which it has been. It has taken great care of us in some crazy situations. So we'll start here at the front with the obvious stuff. We do have the A.R.B bumper. This is kind of the standard bearer in off-road bumpers. Not the best approach angle compared to some that are out there, but in terms of build quality, reliability, durability, and you really can't beat it. It does work with the front end safety features of the truck as well, which most bumpers do not. Most aftermarket bumpers do not, as I understand it. At least they didn't when I was doing my reading and studying on these things. And so this is ultimately what we decided to go with. I love it. I like the look of it. It's a bit boxier than maybe I had hoped, but I still really like the look of it. And out here in the Ozarks, you're pushing over little trees. You just are all the time, and it is unaffected by that. We actually, on a road trip, maybe a year ago at this point now, we actually had a deer run into the side of this thing, and I managed to time the pace of the deer as it was running beside me on the road to smack into the bumper and the tire instead of the truck, and washed up, because now it's dirty, but washed up. You never know that it happened, and it was a big deer. It was probably the biggest deer I've ever been next to. The dumb thing was literally just running right next to our truck down the road and angling towards us. It was weird. Anyways, so A.R.B bumper, right? It's you can't really go wrong with it unless you're doing some serious rock crawling and you need a crazy approach angle. But if you look at this one, I've taken this thing up some pretty steep ledges and whatnot, and it does fine. It does just fine. Factory skid plate under there still. It's just the OEM, however that's called, skid plate. That's what is on there. We have not added any other underbody protection. We just got that guy. Someday, right? But we're not hard rock crawlers or anything like that. We're more about getting out in the backcountry and being remote and exploring. So it's got a couple of these cheap LEDs. We didn't really know if we wanted to do extra lights on the front or not, and we saw those on Tacoma World. Pretty good deal. Somebody recommended them as just something to help at night. So I actually got them as a Christmas gift, I believe, from my brother-in-law, if I remember right. And we've used them a few times, really like them. They are helpful. We usually try to get to camp before dark. We got little kiddos, and it's a bit of a process to get set up. But on occasion, you're still on the hunt late at night in the woods. And as we all know, these And these right here are a waste of existence. You really need to upgrade them. It is on our list of things to do. It just hasn't been a priority. They don't give out much light at all. They're not good at all. So those extra LEDs at night are very helpful in the woods. I have a Warn Evo winch. This is, I believe, the 10,000 pound winch. I have used it. I have not used it to recover this truck yet, but before this one we had a gray pre-runner. Basically the same truck, except it was a pre-runner, and got the back tires sunk in a pretty deep mud puddle out at Glade Top. We were alone, and so I got to hook it up and zippity-doo-dah day. I did use it recently when we were in the San Juans to help recover a four-wheeler that went off a ledge. So that felt good. You know, we got to help them pull that thing up and out. That's a whole nother story for another time. But other than that, we really haven't used it much. I did drag our minivan out of our backyard. My wife drove it back there to dump off a bunch of firewood, and we could not get it up the yard, which is embarrassing. And of course, the power steering has never been right since in that van. Yay. But it did drag that up pretty effortlessly. So it's good winch, right? Warner kind of the standard. My philosophy is if it's going to be something that your life can depend on, then you need to buy quality. I do it with all of my hiking, backpacking, camping gear. Buy quality. Cry once. What is it? Buy once, cry once. So that's what we got. Works great. Synthetic rope. That thing's, again, only been used a few times, but it's done perfectly fine. Could use for a washing after today and last weekend's road driving, because we've been through quite a few mud puddles and such, but it's been great. It's just been fantastic. When I bought it, it came with a bug shield. Seems like all the first Gen Tacomas have the bug shield. The old man that owns it before you buy it, they put on a bug shield, and they put on the window visor things. The Tacoma I had before this one, same story. Bought it off an old man that had put the same stuff on. So, you know, whatever. They're fine. They work. Tires and wheels. Okay, these are 265 75 R16s. Slightly larger than stock, if I remember correctly, but not a lot, and that is intentional. We are not rock crawlers. There's no need. The stuff that we do, there's no need. They are the Falken Wild Peaks. I doubt I will ever own a different tire, to be quite honest. We put these tires on our pre-runner, and we took that thing out to, gosh dang it, Big Bend. Drove that backcountry. These things performed flawlessly. We've taken them all over the place, and they never fail me. I'm not at least I didn't used to be a very seasoned off-road driver. I've got several hundred hours of it now at this point, but I was relying on my tires pretty heavily to compensate for a lot of bad line choices and whatnot. And these things have done it. Sidewalls are strong, so if you're up on a side of a washout, they don't slip. Traction is fantastic in mud and snow, on ice, gravel, loose gravel, on and on and on. Sand, right? We've driven the Mojave Desert. These exact tires, the ones you're looking at, they've done all of that stuff. They're my only pair I've ever owned, and still have quite a bit of wear on them. I think we've had them for 3 years. That's just a heck of a deal. They did raise the price a few months back on them to be closer to, you know, all the bigger named ones, but they're still at that price. I think they're a heck of a value. The performance has been spectacular. Again, considering these used to be on a rear-wheel drive only truck, they just never failed me. They're just spectacular. Suspension, I won't really show you that, but we have Old Man Emu stuff all the way around. It is the heavier duty stuff. The coilovers, all that jazz. The leaf springs are the heavier duty to cars. It's the Old Man Emu shocks in the rear as well. I forget what they call them, superchargers or something like that. So they're fine. The front end, I think, is a little bit too stiff. The front bumper wasn't as heavy as we kind of hoped to fight that. And while most of the time you don't notice it, and off-road it's spectacular, on occasion, if they design your highway really weird, you get this weird, miserably unenjoyable wavy bounce going on in the front. It's really miserable. Your guts move up and down internally. It's really, really weird. It's pretty rare, but in my town, Springfield, Missouri, there is a intersection on the highway that is this. And every single time that you drive that, basically coming from Ozark to James River, heading west, my guts just get all kinds of twisted up. It's weird. But yeah, other than that, like off-road, they're great. They've been spectacular. I think the back were a bit too heavy, so we've got the G.A.R.B leaf springs in the back, and then I've got an Add-A-Leaf in there as well. It's still not enough. Probably gonna have to go back to the drawing board at some point on the rear, figure out what to do there, because once we're fully loaded with the kiddos and all the clothes for kind of one of our bigger trips, this thing sags a bit. We have a giant fridge in there, and once that's loaded down for a week's worth of food to live out of the backcountry, it sags. I really don't like that, so we're working on ways to maybe save some weight here and there, but the basic gist of it is either airbags or stronger leaf springs. The wheels, I forgot to mention the wheels. The wheels are the Fuel Onza imitation beadlock. I didn't know that beadlock was really a thing that much when I was researching tires. And again, we're not rock crawlers. I don't think there's not a need. As best I can tell, there's really not a need for us. I really like these wheels. I've never seen them on anything else, anywhere else ever before. I really like how they look. It took me a long time to decide on that stuff because I'm just not a car guy, right? Like, oh, I love all these wheels and tires and all these combinations. It's not me. It's just not. But I wanted something wider to hold a fatter tire than what was stock, and something that could take a little bit of a beating at least, and these had good ratings, so we went with those. No magic to it, that's just what they are. Rock sliders, these are one of my favorite things on the truck. I use them a lot out here in the Ozarks, actually, to pivot the truck around trees. Believe it or not, that is what we use them for. And then of course my kiddos all climbing into the back of the truck. These are, I believe they are 4x Innovations. I think they are probably the best value rock slider on the market. And they have a lot of different options. You can get the filler plates or not, right? It can just be the bar, and they've got different bar choices. And then we added this little flare for fun, the TRD, right? That's optional, but I've kind of become a Toyota fanboy because of the reliability of what this and the previous truck have done for my family. So yeah, that's what we went with. Again, the platform is spectacular. This platform lets you stand on it quite comfortably. So accessing stuff on the roof, fighting with the tent, put that dumb thing up. Again, the kids climbing in and out. Functionally spectacular in that regard. But then of course, performance-wise, when push comes to shove, these things have done a great job keeping us off rocks, mostly trees, right? It's a lot of narrow trails you end up on. Today I was on a really skinny one. They help you pivot around it, believe it or not, when you need to, because you get some tight squeezes and turns. Okay, all right, we'll move up to the top. No, we'll go to the back first. Okay, we have a rear swing out bumper. This is one of a kind, completely custom, built for actually the pre-runner, but they're identical trucks, so it worked out. Built by a guy named G.A.R.B. He's a local guy here. He used to do work for an overland company here. He built this for me. Well, for documentation purposes, local pulled up and had a nice chat with me, actually showed me a better campsite. So I followed him down a little bit to a better campsite, which I guess is better. It's 6 of 1, but it's his buddy's hunting campsite. I will say this, look at the color. Look at the sunset. Oh my gosh. Oh, these colors through the trees. So I will have to somehow figure out how to do this walk around or pick it up where I left it off, because I don't really want to do it over again, but I'm going to get to setting up camp at this point, because it's going to get dark. Okay, it's the next morning. You'll notice the scenery has changed. Trying to do my walk around, had a local guy come checking on me. He encouraged me to move campsites to a better one. I did. And then he hung out and chatted with me, so by the time he was done talking to me, it was really dark. So, you know, it's the kind of fun stuff you run into out here. They're just coming to check on me, make sure I wasn't some crackhead that was going to leave needles and trash their hunting grounds. Real friendly. It was cool. It was a lot of fun to talk to him. So I went exploring a little bit this morning and found this spot. Hopefully I won't be interrupted. Not a lot more to talk about broadly on the truck, but we were talking about the rear bumper. I do really like this thing. The hinge, we need to figure something out there because it sags when it's open. It's structurally really solid. It doesn't bend or flex or anything, but just kind of angles down. But that's the rear bumper. It is, again, as I'd said, fully custom. I really love it. Got a lot of compliments on it. I tell the guy that built it all the time, people really like your bumper because it's pretty cool. He built it to put jerry cans inside of here. He had a vision of an idea, but unfortunately that never came to be. So I've got to figure out how to do the jerry cans. I'd like to put a box in jerry cans, whatever. Talk about future plans another time. We do the old trash bag on the back of the back of the tire. Works great. I know some people make fun of you for it, but it works great. It's very handy, very convenient. So we do that. Obviously, we've used this thing for a while now. It's lost its color, still holding up just fine. Okay, what else can I tell you? So camper shell, I guess we'll start working our way up. Camper shell with wind doors, right? The wind doors are a game changer. Turn the handles, the thing lifts up, right? Boom, now you've got access to inside your rig in the back. It's always the big limitation to camper shells is how do you get to the stuff that's back in here. And so that's how you do wind doors. Got really lucky on finding that camper shell. It's not perfect by any means, and we overpaid for it because they're unicorns and they're worth their weight in gold. But yeah, we jumped on it when we found it. I think it was a 15-hour round trip drive to get it and get back. But it's color matching, or pretty close to color matching. Technically it's not, but you can't tell. Okay, so we've got that. We do have a drawer system in the back that we've built. I'll show you that. And this is the other wind door. We do have a big fridge. Crazy for a big fridge. Insane how big that fridge is. We went a little nuts there. Definitely not necessary most of the time. And some of our bigger back remote country trips, it's been super handy though with the kids because there's 5 of us a lot of the time. Awning. Okay, so we do the Quickpitch, right? Quickpitch weather shade. This is the correct answer to the awning question, period. This is the correct answer. They're expensive, I get that, but that thing takes maybe 30 seconds to set up. Super easy to use, super easy to put away, 90 seconds to put it away kind of thing. There are sidewalls for it. They're impossible to get right now, but we are going to get some as soon as they're available. Yeah, it's just spectacular. It's just a spectacular awning. I am inherently immensely lazy, and I don't like to do a lot of the tedious stuff. And so I needed an awning that would set up quick and easy with minimal effort and put away the same, or I would never use it. And this guy does just that very, very effectively. So I'll pull it open, just stopping for lunch, all kinds of stuff to get my value out of it, and we definitely do. Very good in the rain, very good in the wind. They're famous for that stuff. I saw a guy doing pull-ups at a trade show on the bars on this thing to just demonstrate how strong they are. Obviously, you don't really want to do that, but they're the Quickpitch is impressively strong. I'll open it up sometime and show you guys. Probably now in this video somewhere. I'll put some footage in of that. It is mounted to a front runner slimline roof rack. I know you can't really see it very well, but that is what is in here. And then it has special bolts or special brackets that you get that put it on there. Bomb proof. That thing doesn't move. It's spectacular. And mine, if you'll notice, it is a short bed truck, right? So The last bracket sits like right here in the body of this thing to give you an idea. So that much of it is just free hanging, and it doesn't move. It's awesome. Well built, worth the money, super convenient. My whole family has sat under that thing in plenty of rainstorms now. I've eaten lunch under that thing multiple times in the sun. That's great. Massive quality of life improvement. And when I watch other people at camp setting up their awnings, I get it, right? There's budget considerations and all kinds of different things. This thing's heavy, right? If you're trying to keep your weight down, I get all of those decisions. But man, I'm glad we went with this. We spent a lot of time looking, and I am so glad we went with this. There are a couple of other companies now that make something very similar. I know Ostrich is one. And then I saw at Artemis, I don't remember the name of the company, but it was like a big, I guess you'd still call it a 270, but it folded out both ways and had big, it was freestanding, had big metal bracket arms like this one does. So there are a couple other companies that also make them now, but Quickpitch has been very impressive. Hein is the local rep in Missouri, or in the United States, I think. We met him once. Real friendly guy, real helpful. Very busy, hard to get a hold of right now, but yeah, we found him to be great to work with. We actually had to get this thing replaced because it got damaged in shipping. The first one did, and Hein worked with the company to make it happen for us. And yeah, they're just great. So I strongly recommend it. Not that anybody cares about my opinion, but rooftop tent. Okay, so rack. So we do have the Front Runner Slimline 2 roof rack. So there's a whole story there. You can see a video on what we used to have here. So I went a little bit overboard to make sure that that never happened again. And this thing has been spectacular. Obviously, it's kind of a bummer because you have this amazing roof rack and you can't really do much of anything with it because you have a friggin' giant tent on it. But, you know, in the future, if I ever get rid of the tent and go back to a ground tent or something like that, this, it's just an amazing roof rack. No issues with it ever at all whatsoever. Yeah, it's just awesome. Just really, really glad we got it. We bought it used off of a guy up in Chicago. We drove up and back basically over the course of 2 days, day and a half. I had it strapped to the roof of our minivan because we didn't have a way to attach it to the truck we had at the time in a reasonable way. And we had a limited window to go get it. We got a really good deal on it because they were impossible to get at the time and crazy expensive. So, and it fit our camper shell perfectly. So we're pretty thrilled about that. It does come with a bottle cap opener, right? Well, that's real cool, except I don't drink. So, you know, on the rare occasion when I have like a bottle of root beer or something, whatever, it's kitschy. Okay, tent. So we have the 23-0 Walkabout 72. When this thing folds out, it is about the size of a king size bed, I believe. I forget the measurements exactly, but we have been using it for 3 years, very successfully, quite often. We have a family of 5 of us that all sleep in it still. Yes, it is cozy, but it also keeps you warm. All right, 3 bodies and a little heater running. It keeps you very, very warm. The 23-0 has been a great tent. It's taken a beating. It's fallen off the truck. It's been through a bunch of storms. It stays on my truck all the time. It houses 5 bodies at night, and it does it quite well. I highly recommend them. I'm not a fan of the fabric cover. Having done this now for a while, these fabric covers are miserable. Really the worst part is the zipping them back on. Zipping them off is not fun, but zipping them back on is miserable, especially you know, when you're down at the bottom of Canyonlands and it's 15 degrees in the morning and you're trying to zip it all up and there's the dirt and stuff that gets stuck in the zippers. So yeah, just the reality of it is we just don't. You can see this thing sitting here. Zippers are busted, zipper teeth are busted. Can't even really get the thing back on. We've had to replace the zipper here a couple of times. 23-0 has always been great about it. They'll send you the stuff. Like, they've been great. They've been great to work with when we've had issues. So I recommend the company very strongly. I would be happy to buy more 23-0 tents in the future without a second of hesitation. But if you don't need a tent this size and with this kind of functionality, I would encourage a hardtop tent. I'll maybe do a deeper dive one day on why I really like this kind of structure of a tent. Having used one now extensively, we compared it after a couple, maybe 6 months ago or so. We were thinking about switching, trying out like the Sky Camp, Sky iCamper, whatever it's called. Climbed up in one at a local store, and we're really actually surprised at the sacrifices we would have to make in functionality to do that, to switch to that tent. So we opted not to do that because there's actually some really brilliant things about this tent you don't realize when you try to use a different model. I know these are kind of a generic design. There's a whole lot of manufacturers that make tents like this, but there's a reason. They're pretty smartly designed, very functional. So yeah, so that's what we use. We did replace the straps after a couple years. Those other straps are miserable to use, so we've used aluminum Fastex buckles. These we ordered from Happy Strap. Not the best service, but they're great. They work just fine. I was hoping for something that was easier to pull and cinch down, and they're not. They're just not. You feed it through there, it doesn't move. It's all a myth. It's just like this, right? The G.A.R.B bag the dude shows you in the video. And he'll just grab these things and just slide them, and you can adjust it. Nah, you can't adjust these things at all. It's a pain in the butt. Same story with those, but we did find the Fastex buckles are much easier to work with. Long term, we will replace the ones on the sides as well that cinch the top down to the bottom. I bought all the stuff to make my own to try it, but sewing is hard apparently. And then I'd like to make some buckles over here to hold the cover down, because I really don't ever want to go back to zipping. It stays dry, right? Like we've driven in rainstorms and all kinds of stuff with this open like that. The cover will kind of blow up when you're going like 70 down the highway, which kind of sucks, but the tent stays dry. No issues at all whatsoever, so it's great. Okay, from there, the last couple things really are what's on the roof. We've got one of those Plano gun cases, right? Got one of those, just holds my recovery gear. Guys, if you're burying your recovery gear in the back of your truck, you don't really have recovery gear. That's just the God's honest truth about it. You need to have access to it quickly. I've been in a couple situations now, having done this long enough. You need access to it quickly. And so we have that there. And then my traction boards are mounted up here. I use a Yakima round bar. I guess I should say that as well. We use the Yakima round bars. And then I just put these guys on, right? Some conduit hanger to hold it in place. And they are bomb-proof. Bomb-proof. And we've ratchet strapped the shovel on top. We won that. My wife won that silly shovel at the first Artemis overland rigs thing he did in his parking lot. We went to it, and they had giveaways, and my wife won that shovel. So we take it. It's a bit silly, but it's really nice. And until I have a better way of transporting it, it just is ratchet strapped onto the top of that thing. Yeah, so that's really the bulk of the truck in a nutshell. I'll show you the interior sometime, but it's a bit of a mess right now. Really the only things that I've done different, we've got a ram mount modification that we did, and then we have a Molly panel in the back and some bags. They need to be snugged up, but those have been super helpful for the kids for organization in the back. Otherwise, I haven't really done much on the interior. There's just not a ton you can do with these little first gen Tacomas. The interiors are not that great, but that's the truck in a nutshell, I believe. I don't think I'm forgetting anything that we've done. If you'd like deeper dives on stuff, let me know. We did build our own drawer system, pretty well thought out. A friend helped us do that with the first version. This is the second version of that. Yeah, love the truck. Really love the truck. Hope to keep it forever. At some point, I'd like to have a camper van for the family, make things a little bit more comfortable on the long road trips, but I don't really ever want to get rid of this guy. I love red. It's my favorite color. I just love this truck. There's no engine lights on. There's no dash lights on, nothing. The thing is just great. Yeah. It's a great truck. We did have to have repairs done back here, right? The frame, the infamous first gen frame issue. I'll tell the story another time, but I went through a whole process to buy this thing and took it to multiple people to look at the frames, and nobody found any issues. And then I noticed after one of our trips, I think Canyonlands, one morning, I just kind of was walking around and looked in there and I saw the infamous cracks you don't want to see. So we took it to a frame guy and he patched it all up and said it's better than new. So it's been great. It's a great truck. Highly recommend them. They're worth a small fortune right now, which is kind of stupid, but also I get it. I drive this thing out in the middle of nowhere and it starts every time and it gets me everywhere. I trust my family's life to it, so I love this thing. So if you have any questions, the three of you that are going to see this video, please feel free to post them. I will absolutely answer them. I'm a huge advocate for getting families and people out into nature. It's good for you. It's good for your kids. It's good for your marriage. It's good for your relationships. It's good for everything. So I highly encourage you to get out. Take the platform you've got and make it work. Even if it's just a Prius, you can still get out. You drive a Prius to this spot. Look at this campsite. It's right on the current river. You could take a Prius to this thing. Throw up a tent right up over there, or over there, or right there. It'd be awesome. It'd be absolutely awesome. Okay. With that, I will say thanks for watching.